Okay, Nova Minerals, the Estelle Gold Project, where we're developing North America's next major gold trend. At a glance, to date, 450 square kilometer claim block. To date, we've identified and defined almost 10 million ounces of gold across 2 deposits. To the north at Corbel, bulk tonnage system, and to the south, which has really become the jewel in the crown, is a high grade at RPM. In between, 20 other known prospects at various stages of advancement. We recently released a scoping study, positive results. We've been focused on the gold, but also copper, silver, and this year, antimony showing and potential out there as well. In the Tintina Gold Province, this has been one of the most prolific belts in recent decades. Some names you might recognize, 10 million plus ounce deposits, not uncommon in our neighborhood here. And of course, that's certainly what we're onto at Estelle, at the southern end of that belt. Zooming right in, infrastructure, always so important with these projects. In terms of power, we have a number of options there, including the proposed gas pipeline out to Dahlin to the west of us, passing 10 miles to the north of us. And also, we're looking at transmission line options straight to the Beluga Power Plant, which is the electrical source for Anchorage and the population center there in Alaska. Access, 4,000-foot plus airstrip at the site, which we can bring in very large aircraft, DC-3, support the project year-round with that. Seasonally, we use a winter road, very common in this part of the world. But we're becoming very excited about this red line here. This is the West Susitna Access Road project. State-funded project, currently going through EIS. Half of that road is actually in the DOT fully budgeted plan for the next 5 years and is looking to break ground on that in 2025. So that'll basically make us a suburb of Anchorage. Now zooming right in, it's a district scale play, 35-kilometer long mineralized corridor there. We've been focused on 4 main areas. Of course, Corbel and RPM, where we've defined resources, and then our exploration focus has been on Stony and Train. Zooming, looking to the north, you can see our direct neighbor there, U.S. Gold Mining, Inc. Recent IPO, they have the Porphyry Copper Whistler project, so also same geology, porphyry potential on our site as well, and we have several prospects there that we're focusing on that. Now let's zoom into the deposits here in the south area. RPM, relatively recent discovery. We've currently defined measured and indicated resources there of 340,000 ounces. Including the inferred 820,000 ounces there. And then we just got started on the south zone, which has 420,000 ounces in a maiden resource, 1.2 million ounces in total. Here's the drilling we did that those resources are based on. We've been mainly focused on this high-grade zone here, and we've also now discovered another mineralized intrusive down to the south. And of course, there's RPM south, and this actually geologically connects. We have the highest level of HQ diamond-oriented core there, and all of the indications are that connects. So it's a 1-kilometer strike length deposit already. Here's some of the results that we get there, and I can't go through them all, but just on the bottom, you can see RPM 005. This was the discovery hole. Just absolutely spectacular, best intercepts in the world globally in the last 10 or 20 years. 132 meters at 10.1 grams per ton, within a larger intercept of 400 meters at 3.5 grams per ton. And I could go on and on there, but you can see the potential of RPM and across the Estelle project. And this is a cross-section through the 1-gram grade shell. Even at 1 gram, holds together very well in that bonanza zone, as we call it, very continuous, thick zone. And now we've drilled some deeper holes down into the valley, actually not that deep under the surface, but another 1 gram per ton grade shell there, another ore zone shaping up. And here's the 0.3 grade shell. And in our scoping study, of course, this is what our pits drove down on. This is the resource classification. So all the measured and indicated resources in that high dense drilling zone there. And then the rest of the deposit still remains inferred. And so we're really focused on defining, proving up this and growing that high grade zone, and then learning more about these areas here. And linking them, which is our #1 target. There it is, the intrusive, 600 meters of resource potential in that mineralized intrusive. That's a lot of upside there. And you can see the initial drill holes that we've drilled into that target intrusive, 76 meters at 1.2, 30 meters at 2 grams, so it's certainly there. And this is the drilling that we've completed this year. No assays back yet, but you can see we're starting to focus on those objectives to continue to prove up that high-grade zone there, and then start to prove up these resources and connect that link zone in there. So multi-million ounce deposit potential for sure. So that's RPM. Let's move 6 kilometers to the north to one of our hottest exploration prospects. Appears to be another one of these massive intrusive related gold systems there. All the surface results, you can see rock chips up to 80 grams per ton, 30, 40, and number of anomalies throughout there. Our first target is this between the Train and Trumpet prospects, 1.5 kilometer strike length there, and that picture there is what we see there is those very high-grade sheeted veins ripping through that zone. So that's our next drill target to establish a third resource at the project. Now we'll be moving up north along our proposed road system. We fully surveyed that and hope to break ground on that road network next year. Past our fully winterized 80-man camp with all the facilities, on-site prep lab, year-round out there, and up to Corbel to the north. So at Corbel, there are a number of anomalies and prospects we've been working on, but we'll really focus on those black dots where we've defined resources at Corbel, Maine, and Cathedral. Corbel, Maine, 6.6 million ounces with 3 million in indicated, and the first maiden resource from our drilling program last year, 2 million ounces there. Massive deposit, 2.5 kilometer strike length at Corbel, Maine, and then 500 meters away, starting to establish a nice resource there at Cathedral. So to understand Corbel, Maine, it is a lower grade deposit, 0.3 gram per ton average grade. There is a higher grade core zone there, 101 meters at 1.3, 113 meters at 1 gram per ton, which holds together very well with the 0.5 grade shell here, and then looking at it from the other direction. And then when I put on the 0.3 grade shell, you can see it really starts to bulk out. So what's the plan there? The plan there is in our scoping study this is the starter pit area, the higher grade material, and then we include those hundreds of millions of tons of lower grade material because it's all about vein density there. Lower vein density in that lower grade outer zone. The veins themselves are running ounces per ton. And so we've done extensive test work, and we plan to use ore sorting to upgrade this material. Resource classification, most in-pit resources are indicated with some inferred around the edges, further upside, and then of course Cathedral there, which is still early days, but we need to follow up some of these rock chips we have at Cathedral. You can see there the vein material, some of these samples are from the vein material, 114 grams, 98 grams per ton. And moving over to the process. So this is our layout here, a suitable site from our scoping study, right next to the pit, very short haul, and the process. So all of this is based on all extensive test work. It's very easily liberated gold. It's free gold associated with arsenopyrite. This is conventional off-the-shelf technology, nothing fancy. We crush it, we mill it, we float it to produce a concentrate, and then that concentrate gets regrind step down to 22 microns, which is still quite coarse, and then it goes through an intensive leach cycle where we're getting over 96% recovery, and that's just scoping levels. Now we have a number of things we want to hone in on, so now that we're moving into PFS, we expect those numbers to improve. Then later on in the mine life, after RPM and the Corbel Central Zone is processed, then we employ the ore sorting. So our test work has shown it just ore sorts exceptionally well. We can take 0.3, 0.4 gram material and upgrade it up to 6 grams per ton. Now, the optimal is to capture most of the gold is to upgrade it to about 1.2 to 1.5 grams per ton, and we capture 90% of the gold that way. And so that's Corbel. And further exploration projects at Stony. This is a little bit of a different beast here. What we see there is high-grade gold as well as high-grade silver and copper. Also, recently, this year, antimony. And so watch that. We intend to follow that up, that prospect there. So there you have it. That's the Estelle Gold Project. It's a district scale. It's a gold trend. It's not just a one-hit wonder. Something like the Carlin Trend, where I used to work, comes to mind, and certainly in terms of scale and potential resource endowment over the long term. We'll be out there for decades. This has been our journey in terms of resource growth. In 4 short years, almost 10 million ounces defined. We get it. It's not just about quantity. It's about the quality of the resources. So our prime objective right now is to prove these resources up into the measured and indicated categories, and we've certainly started doing that this year's drilling and next year as well. And with that, of course, comes the secondary bonus of increasing the overall resource. We did a scoping study just to, as a snapshot in time to see if we have a viable project here, and certainly the numbers look very positive. 11-month payback period out of a 17-year mine life. A lot of that is from that high-grade RPM material coming into early production, yielded an NPV of $650 million and an IRR of 53%, producing almost 2.3 million ounces over a 17-year mine life. So the CapEx just short of $400 million. So this is a starting point. It's a good foundation. As we move forward here, we'll build on this, and we expect this to improve as well. The value opportunities over time haven't received much love for that scoping study. Mark is just brutal, but we expect that to be baked in here at some stage perhaps. Either way, we keep pushing forward, proving up these resources, growing these resources through our drilling. Now we're moving into PFS, further studies, further test work, and of course exploration. So we have kind of 2 tracks going on, the excitement through the exploration potential, and then if we're on the path to production, we'd like some kind of decision to mine by at least 2027. Some of the value drivers for Nova, Tier 1 scale, I hope I've demonstrated that today. We're an aspiring gold producer. We're not here to flip the project, anything like that. Excellent jurisdiction. Myself, I'm from Alaska. I grew up there, been doing this business for 30 years around the world. Back home, 24/7 on the ground, pushing this project forward. Very low cost of discovery ounce, approaching $5 per ounce. Just because it's all on the surface, doesn't require expensive, complex exploration techniques, surface sampling. That's how we've generated these targets. Open pit, thick ore zones, and of course the immense resource upside with 20 other known prospects identified already to date. A few comparisons with some peers that we've picked out. Our neighbor there, U.S. Gold Mining Inc., the latest high-profile intrusive-related gold play there with Snowline. Great projects, no doubt. And we believe we have something to offer, perhaps above and beyond our peers. We're much more advanced. Positive scoping study, moving into PFS. We've had the best global drill results, 1,400 gram meters, and it just shows you the potential there. We need to replicate that, of course, but it shows you the potential there is still. Another thing underappreciated with Nova is that we also have strategic investments in lithium and rare earth elements. The lithium being the Snow Lake resources. We spun that out on the NASDAQ. They recently released a $1 billion PEA on their own right. So we have exposure to that. Quick corporate snapshot, pretty healthy. 25 million in cash and equivalents, that being a lot of it in Snow Lake. We've already done a block trade on that and funded ourselves last year with that Snow Lake investment, and there's still 18 million sitting there. Low debt. Management holds almost 15% of the company, and insiders 37% of the company. All the top holders are management or are insiders. The only thing lagging is the share price market cap, and that's we're currently valued at less than $1 per ounce out there. And so we believe there's near, medium, long-term potential there for the investor. Just a brutal market. So, and it's a big story, kind of a whirlwind tour. Short time to tell it. I implore you to go to our website. All this content and more. You can dig a bit deeper. I think you'll find we're onto something pretty special out there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Christopher. There's no time for questions.